Michigan Magazine is kept on the road by our many Michigan friends. Cops and Donuts Bakery, downtown Clare, a winning combination. Cops and Donuts. The Michigan-made rebounding mailbox pole. Never again worry about the winter snowplow taking out your mailbox with this ingenious rebounding pole. Your mailbox takes a hit and keeps coming back year after year. Call now or visit their website, toughmailboxes.com. The Cedar Tavern and Grill of Lute, where friends come to meet friends and families come for delicious food and a wholesome atmosphere. Come relax with your favorite beverage or bring the crew for a great meal and live entertainment. It's happening now at the Cedar of Lute. We all know it's wintertime. Mother Nature and Old Man Winter have made sure we all know about this. Sometimes they've kept us guessing. Today on the show and in the weeks to come, we're going to prove to you, we Michiganders, don't let the weather keep us from outdoor activities normally thought of as warm weather events. We're going geocaching with GC guru head hard hat Andy Smith. But first, by popular demand, because you wanted it, we're bringing back the master harp maker James Spalink of the Grand Rapids area. Stay tuned, it's all coming up on Michigan Magazine. Cops and Donuts Bakery, downtown Clare, what began as a crazy idea among 9 police officers to purchase the historic Clare City Bakery quickly became an international phenomenon, carrying on a Michigan tradition with delicious donuts, pies, pastries, breads, original coffee, and more, plus a full menu at the new adjacent Traffic Stop Diner. Downtown Clare, a winning combination, Cops and Donuts. Experience the beauty, artistry, and taste of Northern Michigan. Come to Amish Country Natural Products on Mount Tom Road, north of Mile, just off M33. From arts and crafts to fresh foods and vegetables, all natural, all local, all good. Stop by and get acquainted with Amish Country Natural Products, 1454 North Mount Tom Road, Mile. Pause for a moment with us on Michigan Magazine as we slip past the boundaries of this Great Lakes state, across the big water to a time and place long ago. A time of Renaissance, when there were knights in shining armor and damsels in distress, when the sounds of harps and lutes filled the air, the strings caressed by chamber musicians and wandering minstrels. We can travel to this far-off land of long ago through our imagination and the music and creativeness of this Grand Rapids man, James Spalink, a fine craftsman of lutes and harps. When not in his basement workshop, you can find James adorned in Renaissance garb, performing at period festivals as a wandering minstrel. His love of the Renaissance period is no secret, as more and more connoisseurs of this time period are discovering his craftsmanship and talent. Our visit with James feels at first as if it were beginning in the time of Shakespeare, as we're surrounded by hints of the 16th century. But reality has us quietly enthralled by James playing one of his handcrafted harps in the comfort of his 20th century living room on the outskirts of Grand Rapids. How in the world did you get involved in making harps and lutes?
That lute, actually. I played classical guitar, and I found that a lot of the pieces that I enjoyed were Renaissance lute transcriptions from old lute music. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to play them on the original instrument. Couldn't afford to buy one, so I built this as a kit, as a necessary evil to having one.
I see. So lutes, we're talking a Renaissance period. Describe what era that we're talking about.
Renaissance ran from probably the late 1500s until mid to late 1600s. Mm-hmm. It was Renaissance is a French word. It means an awakening or a rebirth. And that's when Europe was just coming out of the Dark Ages, and culture and music and art just exploded in terms of experimentation and ingenuity. So
now, when we say that period of time and lute, we may not know what a lute is, a modern-day man, but back then, this was probably what music was thought of. I mean, this is a very popular instrument, wasn't it?
There were more lutes then than there are guitars today. Almost any house you go in, you see a guitar somewhere, you know, in the attic or the corner, but everyone has one. Well, back then, they didn't have radios, and they didn't have the luxury that we have of music anytime. So the lute was like a chamber instrument. You know, if you wanted music, you made it, and the lute was essentially the instrument that you made it on.
My goodness, there are quite a few strings, too.
It's like a 12-string guitar. There are 15 strings. Mm-hmm. The first string, normally they played the melody on. and the others are tuned in what are called courses in octaves and unisons, like a 12-string guitar. So it's basically like an 8-string guitar.
You have a love for the Renaissance period, I can tell.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what stimulated that? I mean, how far did you go back? Shakespeare.
Oh, yeah.
Any formal training in
not a lick. Not a lick.
Or instrument making? Where did you go? How in the world did you do your research and find technical aspects of harp and lute making?
Everywhere. It's difficult to find information. To my knowledge, there isn't any instruction book or method on harp making unless you study under one of the masters or whatever. But basically, there are places where you can get blueprints for harps. A lot of the jigs and the molds you build and the methods of construction are either trial and error or just plain common sense, figuring out what will make a stronger instrument. If you build one that breaks, you don't do that the next time. But it's like any other discipline, I guess. It's a never-ending process. You're always experimenting. You're always striving to make it sound better or be stronger.
As far as musical training, instruction, where did you go to find someone who could teach you the harp or lute, or was it just something that...
I listened to recordings, basically. Well, I've got some
kind of
music.
self-taught, or in a way, or to a point?
I took lessons on guitar for 8 or 9 months when I first got my guitar. And from then on, it's essentially self-taught. I worked from some music. For the Renaissance music, you almost have to get some of the pieces, but mostly I'm more comfortable just listening to something and emulating it, basically.
Your own experimentation, listening, and feedback. Right. Yeah. The Renaissance, that's a period that is really rather popular nowadays, isn't it? I mean, there's festivals and things going on that bring back this period, this romantic time.
Yeah, there are several festivals in Michigan alone. And, there's some huge ones, I guess, in New York and in Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania.
You build these from ground up, scratch. Right. I mean, what type of material do you use, and the ornamentation, the carving, where does that come from?
Well, this is a replica of a 12th century instrument. In fact, this one, it's kind of like the Irish Liberty Bell. The original is in a climate-controlled case in the museum in Dublin. This is called the Trinity College Harp, or the Brian Boru Harp. People say that it was owned by Brian Boru, and in fact it wasn't. It was built around the 12th century, and it was in the O'Brien family. And there's an interesting history about it. It was used at one time to ransom somebody. Someone at one time tried to buy it with a flock of sheep. It's a pretty colorful history. But I worked from as many photographs and drawings that I could find, and it is a replica, although I did take some liberties. Like any photographs you can find, thieves had long ago pried this, whatever jewel was here, they just dug it out of here. And I replaced it with... It's more my interpretation of it, but as far as where I could be accurate from a replica standpoint, I tried to follow it.
And the patterns that you created, the more or less the dies and the things to the bracings and everything yourself, or
right? There's a basic blueprint available that you can buy through a harp supply company for an ancient Celtic harp, and I used that basic frame for it, and then I made what changes I wanted to do to make it more authentic. Some of this had to be reconstructed. These big circles with these zoomorphic figures in it, and the original were burned or worn or chipped off or something, and my wife recreated them from what we had of the original drawing and to what they probably would have been. In a way, it's nice that it was so worn, because then it gives me a little artistic license to, put what I think looks nice in there.
I tell you, it's beautiful. And how long or how many hours would you say is into something like this?
Oh, this one, I do this part-time, so I think more in terms of months, I guess. This one took me over a year to build. And I had to wait until I could get the materials to build it. So I just kind of plugged away at it in between building other instruments as I could. Mm-hmm. But it took me probably a year and a couple of months, something like that.
You really didn't keep track of the time per se, because it's probably a labor of love there, I see here.
I completely lose track of the time when I'm in my workshop. Ask my wife. I go down for 10 minutes and I'm there for hours.
And understandably so. As James led us into his basement workshop, the wonders of projects underway drew us to its fine detail like a magnet. James told us that his obsession with the music of the Renaissance and the instruments was made easier by Nancy, his wife's love of the same time period. While James loses himself downstairs, Nancy's busy upstairs with beautiful Renaissance sketchings, paintings, and the creation of period dolls and figurines. So intriguing and popular is Nancy's work that after our visit with James, we found ourselves lost in her work. The sounds and feelings of the Renaissance period were all around us as James continued to work, telling us of his dream of someday perhaps doing what he loves full time.
I would like it to be able to pay for itself in terms of, it'd be nice to make my living doing this. But that's you ask any instrument maker, and that's a very difficult thing to do because this is so labor intensive that it's hard to, by the time you're done, you have so many hours in it, you end up making like 35 cents an hour,
Right.
But my aspirations would definitely be, if I could, to support myself by building these instruments.
And if that ever were the case, I believe we'd all be the better for it. As we talked about that time period, James's versatility shone through. Besides being adept at the classical guitar, the lute, and harp, he displayed his talent with other Renaissance instruments and allowed me the opportunity to join in on another one of his handmade instruments. We'd like to thank James and Nancy Spalink for allowing us to experience a bit of the Renaissance through their work and passion at their home studios in Grand Rapids.
How's that?
Michigan Magazine is being brought to you in part by... It's back and making memories for a new generation. The Rustic Inn of Lewiston, now open to chase away those winter blues with hot, delicious food, your favorite beverage, and an atmosphere that'll keep you coming back to make new memories and new friends. The new Rustic Inn on Red Oak Road, just south of Lewiston. Hingeman Acres Canoe Livery and Resort on M33 just north of Mayo, catering to the outdoor enthusiasts. Cabins, canoes, kayaks, rafts, and more. Daytime or overnight trips along the world-famous Asabo River. A family getaway for over 75 years. Something special's cooking, hot and delicious. Indulge yourself at Morning at Maggie's in Bay City. Omelets, frittatas, hotcakes, and more. Make every day special with a stop at Morning at Maggie's for breakfast or lunch on Saginaw in Bay City.
Welcome to Geo Snippets for Michigan Magazine Television. I'm Head Hard Hat. In the next few minutes, we're going to give you some interesting information and tidbits about the game, the sport, yes, the obsession, known as geocaching. Well, in today's episode, if you haven't noticed, we've got fresh fallen snow everywhere. We're going to go out into the cold and do ourselves some wintertime geocaching. Let's start now. Well, let me tell you folks, it's cold today. Luckily not that much wind, but it is definitely cold. You can tell by the Rudolph nose, when it gets red, it's cold out. Anyways, the GPS says that the geocache is about 100 feet that way. We're going to start looking now. One of the things you're going to find when doing geocaching during the winter is that the geocaches obviously can be covered by snow. This is going to add a lot of difficulty to finding a geocache, especially the smaller ones. The one that we're looking for today is a regular size. Let's see if we can find it. What you see here is where I anticipate the geocache to be. There isn't a mark anywhere. It's completely covered with snow and ice. This needs to be checked, and the only real good way of doing that is using your walking stick. So if you check around, all right, let's start digging. Now, one of the things that you have to do is just start looking around. It's really I guess you could really call it just a bunch of luck to actually find something, because you really can't see like you would during the summer. So I'm gonna look. Oh, here you go. Okay, I lucked out big time with this. Come on around and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, now this is where I lucked out here. This was like this. I was actually starting to dig down here to see if I could actually, and I'm glad I stopped because there doesn't seem to be much here. This, look at this. Talk about a needle in a haystack trying to find it. This is the geocache. Frozen right into this tree stump. What a lucky find. All right, there's inside. We've got toys, logbook. Oh, this is actually kind of a fairly decent geocache. You need to brush your teeth. Toys. Not bad for a geocache. Let's go over some quick reminders for when you do geocaching in the winter. Most of them are common sense, but let's go over them anyways just to be sure. Obviously, when you're going to go out in frigid temperatures, you want to dress accordingly. Now, for me personally, I've got some nice winter boots with a couple of pairs of socks on. I've got 2 t-shirts for layers, plus my actual coat that I'm wearing myself. Nice hat to keep the ears nice and dry and warm, and also gloves. Now, finding the gloves while geocaching might be kind of difficult because some of your normal winter gloves are thick and bulky and it's kind of hard to carry stuff. But if you find a nice pair that's kind of in between where it keeps your fingers warm and yet you can still move around and do things with them, good thing to have. Walking stick is an absolute plus. You saw in our last segment that we did, poking things with the stick in the snow is going to keep you from getting soakers by stepping into ice and streams and water, and also for finding the cache itself. I highly recommend that you carry around with you in your trusty bag this duct tape. Why duct tape, you say? In the winter and when it gets cold, plastic becomes brittle and hard. You poke it with an end like this, if you do it too hard, you're going to bust that top or poke a hole in the top. Bring some duct tape with you so that you can cover it back up and keep the cache as dry as possible. So, you know, duct tape is the universal fixer anyways. Keep some duct tape with you when doing winter geocaching. Well, folks, it's that time again. This is Head Hard Hat for Michigan Magazine and Geo Snippets saying we hope to see you out on the trails real soon. Bye-bye, folks.
Introducing the Weed Gator. For safe and easy aquatic weed removal, the Weed Gator is the #1 alternative to harsh chemicals for getting rid of pond and lake weeds. Safe and effective. See it in action now at weedgator.net. Made in the USA. Clemix Sales and Service on Mapes Road, west of Mile, your complete recreational vehicle sales and service connection. Visit their beautiful showroom of new and pre-owned ATVs, lawnmowers, power equipment, snowmobiles, utility vehicles, and more. Clemix Sales and Service is also the home of the American-made Victory motorcycle line on display at Clemix on Mapes Road, Mile. Announcing the Michigan Paddle Sports Directory, your one-stop internet connection at MichiganPaddlesports.com. It's now possible to explore Michigan's extensive waterways like never before. Michigan Paddle Sports Directory is a comprehensive directory of canoe and kayak rentals and liveries throughout the entire state of Michigan. At MichiganPaddlesports.com, you'll find a great paddling route, outfitter, store, school, rental shop, or tour guide. Michigan's great waterways are waiting for you. Make it an adventure worth remembering by first visiting MichiganPaddlesports.com. Thanks for stopping by. Next week, join us as we visit with new Michigan restaurateurs Lori and Ernest Centofanti of the Lewiston area, new owners and operators of the historic Rustic Inn. Never been in the restaurant business before, but they decided to bring back to life that once closed Rustic Inn just south of Lewiston. And townsfolk are delighted to see that Michigan landmark doing business again. Join us next week for that visit. Time now for the phrase of the week. Happy Fat Tuesday. Send it now with your name and mailing address address to the address here on the screen, either email or U.S. mail. Your name then goes into the drawing for some wonderful Michigan-made products or gift certificates for some delicious meals from Michigan eateries. Have a great week, and we'll see you here next week on RFD TV or 24/7 on the World Wide Web. We'd like to thank all those that help keep Michigan Magazine on the road. Cops and Donuts Bakery, downtown Clare, a winning combination. Cops and Donuts. Hale Hardware, your do-it center in Hale, Michigan. Much more than a regular hardware store, providing everything you need for whatever your project is, along with a knowledgeable sales staff to get her done. Serving Northern Michigan since 1946. Hale Hardware, south of M65 at Ainsley in Hale. Flu season. Be prepared. Get your immunizations now at Rose City Drug, your one-stop pharmacy, home health care, and medical supply outlet, offering a variety of on-site immunizations. Walk-ins are, of course, welcome. Call now for more information. Rose Valley Winery on Beechwood Road in Rose City. See what thousands are raving about, creating a delicious variety of award-winning Michigan wines. Stop by and taste for yourself. The taste of Michigan is yours at Rose Valley Winery.